Eventually, I found a way to love Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, but it took a very, very long time. And if we'd have never gotten back to our beloved Boogeyman, I don't think I'd have ever been able to watch a Tom Atkins movie again. I mean, if you can imagine that. Luckily, the moment though I received my issue of Fangoria magazine and I knew of Michael's return to Haddonfield, all was forgiven. The slate was wiped clean. All I cared about was being there at the Nova 6 opening night to see what a late 80s Michael Myers looked like. And I gotta tell you kids, looks are not everything, but Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, was just pretty enough to sneak in number 3 on our Aging Gracefully Halloween countdown right here, right now. The king is back, baby. Because I was an 8-year-old boy, I really didn't know what moviegoers were clamoring for or what they wanted. I just knew what I wanted to see when I went to the movie theater, and I wanted to watch The Shape do his thing in Haddonfield. I didn't want melty mass that activated at a TV jingle, and as much as I love Tom Atkins, I didn't need to see him chasing tail at that young of an age. When I watched the intro, even during this rewatch, right before we did this review, I was enthralled from the get-go. I mean, you've got hazy shots, you've got pitchforks, you've got ghosts hanging from trees out in the middle of nowhere, you've got cornfields, and being from the Midwest myself, this is what I envisioned Haddonfield, Illinois looking like. And for my money, this is the best intro of all the Halloween movies, bar none. Now, this intro rolls right into a rainstorm with an ambulance traversing a tricky winding road. On the side of the ambulance, it says Smith's Grove. So you just know whatever's about to happen, it's about to be pretty intense. And they pull up to Ridgemont Federal Sanitarium, where we learn that they're transferring our crispy little boy Michael right before Halloween, no less. I mean, this whole plan couldn't possibly go wrong. Transferring the Halloween killer on Halloween. But let's stick to the plot here, because the security guard that we run into, he looks familiar, and he's a little over the top, but he does a fantastic job kind of educating people on what happened 10 years prior. For anybody that was turned off to Halloween by Season of the Witch, we're reintroducing the lore of Haddonfield and what the boogeyman got up to back in 1978. Dr. Hoffman pops up. Now, I wasn't a fan of this Hoffman character because the first thing I thought was, where's Loomis? And Hoffman is overseeing the transfer. He's an actor we've seen before somewhere, and he essentially tells the gentleman he doesn't care where Loomis is. His hope is Loomis himself is transferred, he's retired, or he's died. And for my money, that is no way to treat a legend, and Dr. Loomis is that guy. Michael, meanwhile, he looks pretty badass laying there all bandaged up, but they don't even have him restrained. This guy's killed more people than 99 Bananas, and they don't even have a set of handcuffs on him. Instead, he's tucked nicely and neatly in a hospital bed. And this strikes me in the moment as something that's going to come back to bite him. Now, the lady dealing with the transfer checks his vitals, okays them, and says, let's move him. Boom. Halloween theme kicks in. We're wheeling a gurney through a rainy night into an ambulance. Michael Myers gets loaded up. Hoffman looks back in through the window as if to say, you're not my problem anymore, big guy. And then during the ride, one of these folks mentions the fact that Michael still has a niece in Haddonfield. She's too young to be his ward, but he still has a living relative. And this does not sit well with our favorite serial killer. He clenches his fist, still unrestrained, mind you, and then pops up and jams his thumb into the forehead of the male that was dealing with the transfer. I can't remember the guy's name. I didn't look it up. He's the guy that got the thumb in the forehead. It doesn't look like something like that could be possible, but it was really grotesque, really gnarly, and one of those things that just sticks with you. I think that was even the cover of Fangoria. It was a thumb in that dude's forehead. What a hell of a way to be remembered. And from there, we roll right into an adorable little girl kneeling on a couch, looking out of a picture window at the rainstorm unfolding outside. Now, she looks across the street, and eerily, there is an ambulance, much like the one that we just saw. I still don't get that scene, because we know that that wasn't Michael Myers' ambulance. Her name is Jamie Lloyd, played by the astonishing Danielle Harris. And in this movie, this poor little girl really goes through it. I mean, but here we are, 4 a.m., and her foster sister Rachel comes in to sit with her. Now, Jamie is going through issues because she's missing her parents. You know, her mother's Laurie Strode and her father, they both died in a car accident some months back, and she's unsure of her place in this foster home. And it feels like Rachel is more annoyed with this girl than anything else. And that's kind of the first impression I had of Rachel. But we do get to see this relationship evolve throughout the film because these ladies find themselves in the worst kind of danger, and them having each other's back, it really props this film up. And goddamn, man, that scene where she does go back to her room, gets in her closet, sits on the floor, looks at pictures of her mother and cries, heartbreaker. And then she gets up to go back to bed. Lightning strikes, illuminates the room just enough for us to see Michael Myers in the corner of one of her mirrors, and then she gets grabbed by the foot, something attempting to drag her under the bed. I mean, to hell with that scene. I was so scared of that scene when I was a kid that I didn't even care about the false advertising with the mask on the poster not matching the mask on whatever this thing was in this vision, because we do find out, luckily, this was just a bad dream, and Jamie's okay. And some quick thoughts on this scene. I mean, Danielle Harris was awesome. She really was. She was kneeling by her bed and saying her prayers, saying, God bless Mr. and Mrs. Carruthers, God bless Mommy and Daddy in heaven. It really tugged at the heartstrings. And for somebody to do that in a horror film, you just know that you're going to be rooting for this little girl, and it's going to make the scenes where she's in danger that much more intense. And it's her as an 8-year-old. You know, I have 2 9-year-old daughters, and the idea of one of them even going through a fraction of this, I can't even imagine that. So for this little girl to be trying to evade the most notorious serial killer, in my opinion, on the silver screen is insane. And it sets it up for one hell of a ride. Of course, Loomis is pissed about this transfer, and he talks his shit to Hoffman before they get the call about the ambulance that is wrecked. Loomis immediately knows where Michael is headed, though, and he decides to head that way himself. He and Michael think a lot alike, because on that trip to Haddonfield, they know exactly where they want to stop. They know exactly where they want to freshen up, and Michael decides to hit a service station to get out of the hospital garb, get one of those fancy jumpsuits those mechanics wear. And the guy he kills to get it, he actually strings him up on a set of chains for Loomis to find a few moments later. Now, I don't really understand the obsession with stringing up bodies. You would think that by doing that, you're wasting valuable time. But Jason Voorhees has done it. Sam from Trick or Treat has done it. Michael's done it a couple of times. Maybe that's just a killer thing. I'm not judging. I'm certainly not judging. But the service station scene is absolutely great because Loomis gets there, starts finding dead people, sees a phone, doesn't work, the cord's been ripped out, and then he turns around to confront Michael, begging him, stay away from the people in Haddonfield. They've been through enough. Don't go back. Then he pops off some shots, misses wildly. This dude is out of practice because back in the day, Loomis didn't miss. He used to be a lot better at it. But our beloved doctor, as he tries to leave to get after Michael, he almost gets blown up while the Shape drives away in a tow truck that he's stolen. Loomis does wind up getting some ways down the road, and I did enjoy the kinship between Loomis and this Reverend Sayers cat that finally picks him up and gives him a lift back to Haddonfield. They start sipping on some whiskey, and it's a brief scene, but you see Loomis smiling. And if you like Loomis like I like Loomis, he doesn't smile enough in these movies. I dig that guy. And if you want to have your heart ripped right out of your chest, then just watch the part of the film where Jamie is coming out of her classroom on Halloween. All the kids are dressed in costumes, and this school looks great. It looks like an 80s school, something I went to back when I was a kid. And then you get the kids that decide to start teasing her, and they start off small. You know, where's your costume? Or you're already wearing it. Oh, your face is scary as a mask. Little stuff, you know, stuff kids always did. And then they get a little more intense. They start talking about her dead mom, her mom being a mummy, her uncle's the boogeyman. I mean, they are just trying to draw blood from this poor little girl, and she runs away from the scene, hides behind a tree, clutches her hands tied to her chest, and has to tell herself, you're okay, you're okay. That poor kid, it's just, you want to go into the screen and defend this little girl. Rachel does pick her up shortly thereafter, though, and they head over to the discount mart where Brady works. Now, for those of you who don't know, Brady is played by Sasha Jensen, I want to say, from Dazed and Confused. Tremendous. He is dating Rachel, I believe, or they have a date scheduled for that night that Rachel has to cancel because she has to watch Jamie. This is a great scene, this discount mart scene, because we get to see some of the guys scamming on some of the girls. We meet not only Brady, but the lovely Kelly Meeker, played by Kathleen Kinmont, who is a stunner. Brady gets mad when Rachel cancels this date. Now, Rachel's nice enough to make out with him beforehand, and then she's like, oh, by the way, I can't go out with you tonight. I got to watch my little sister. And he's not happy about it. But then he gets a look from Kelly. So you got a feeling. Now, we like Brady. We liked him in Dazed and Confused. He was one of the more reasonable kids in that cast. But is he a slime ball here? What's he got planned? The real action takes place, though, when Jamie goes down an aisle to pick out her own costume. She walks right past a mask that kind of sort of looks like something Michael would wear, but then you're thinking, at least our killer's not wearing that. And then guess what happens? Mikey shows up, scares the shit out of his niece, and then pulls that mask that we were just looking at and just thinking, thank God that's not the mask. And he pulls that mask over his face in the process. And it's a shitty fit. He doesn't look good in it at all. But my question is, aside from the mask, how does he know where to find his niece? How does he know what his niece looks like? Is this just all coincidence? I mean, we do get a scene later where he finds the house, he goes inside and he looks through the same pictures we see her crying over. So he's got confirmation of who he's after now. But is this something I've overlooked in the 23,000 times I've seen this movie? If somebody's in the know, feel free to let me know, smarten me up on this one, because I would love to know that. Loomis brings Sheriff Meeker into the loop on what's about to happen in Haddonfield again, and they go out looking for Jamie and Rachel. Now this leads to a curfew, which leads to a bar full of Second Amendment loving beer drinkers getting together, going out to the sheriff and finding out about Michael Myers being back. And then they decide this guy took a lot of loved ones from us 10 years back. Not going to happen again. And I loved the idea of a hillbilly militia hunting Michael, because Michael makes short work of the sheriff's department, and that's something I forgot to mention. He takes out the power grid. So the whole town's in darkness, which was R.I.P. Bucky, you poor bastard. But he takes out the power grid, and then he takes out the sheriff's department. This guy's systematic. A lot like in Halloween 2 when he took out the phones at the hospital and then he flattened all the tires. He is thorough, and I like that detail about this movie. Now, once they find Jamie and Rachel, Sheriff Meeker decides he's going to take them to his house and keep them safe, which is a great idea, right? House is fortified. Getting in or out of it is not an easy task, which can be useful unless you carelessly let the boogeyman inside while you weren't paying attention. Now, on top of that, cheating-ass Brady gets cock-blocked trying to bed the sheriff's daughter, Kelly, again, played by the stunning Kathleen Kinmont, who apparently she doesn't own a pair of pants, because pretty much the rest of the movie, she's walking around in a t-shirt and a pair of panties, and that's it. So listen, I can and I will at times talk about this film for days on end, but for the sake of giving you back some of your life, let's talk about what Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers absolutely kills. This movie made me a fan for life of Danielle Harris. I mean, to this day, I follow what she does. She's got a podcast. I think she's tremendous. I try to see movies that she's in. She was in Hatchet 2 and 3. I enjoyed her in those. I mean, don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. Are you kidding me? You're going to put Danielle Harris in a movie with Christina Applegate? Of course I'm going to go see it 15 times in the theater. It's not weird. It's not weird. As a little girl in a horror film, though, for her to be able to say she carried a movie that touted the return of the most storied serial killer in the history of the big screen was no small accomplishment. And you believed her pain in this movie, even before her crazy-ass uncle reappeared. I mean, there's so many points that you want to see somebody come along and help her out. You want Laurie to all of a sudden show up. You want Loomis there with her for the duration of the film, and he's in and out. You know, there's a point in that house where both Sheriff Meeker and Loomis leave, and then you're like, well, who in the hell's watching these kids? That deputy? And I mean, my God, that ending. Did you guys see that ending? What could have been with the way they ended this movie? I mean, just really strong work from her. And, you know, think about this. This is an 8-year-old girl that took over the mantle of Halloween Final Girl from Jamie Lee Curtis. And I don't think she missed a beat. I really don't. I think Danielle Harris is amazing in not only this movie, but this franchise. Donald Pleasence was really good here, you know, and that's a duh, right? He had so many scenes where he educated people on what kind of danger was headed their way. And the lines he delivered, they were so gripping and they were just so impactful. And of course, that's what you get from Donald Pleasence, because he's just that guy. The exchange between he and Sheriff Meeker about the kind of trouble that was heading Jamie Lloyd's way at the sheriff's department before it became a bloody mess was just a snippet that I watch on YouTube every now and again just because. You know, amazing actor, amazing character. And when he was in his prime, which I think he was in 88, I mean, his prime lasted a long time. There wasn't anybody better to watch in a horror film. Absolutely loved Ellie Cornell as Rachel. I mean, I wasn't sure that I would, you know, based on the way she reacted to Jamie at the very beginning, but we all have little siblings that drive us nuts. And then you start to see that protective side come out of her, especially when she picked her up from school and she could see she was upset. And then when Michael Myers descended upon him, you didn't view them as foster sisters anymore, but rather sisters that cared just as much about the well-being of one another as they did themselves. And she's easily one of my top 5 characters in this entire franchise that spans 13 movies. The bond that she developed in this 90-minute runtime with Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd, I thought it was amazing. It was tremendous stuff. And when you consider the travesty that was part 5, her work here in this movie is appreciated and loved that much more. Honorable mention to Brady. Went out like a boss. You know, he's bed hopping, and you didn't appreciate that out of him. But, he's a teenage boy, and then he gets dropped in the thresher that is Haddonfield and running from Michael Myers and protecting people. And he does. He protects Jamie and Rachel with a shotgun that he screws up royally. But you know what? He took some shots. He got some shots in on Mike. He spit on that dude before he died. Went out like a boss. Rest in peace, Brady. Great character. I thought he was a really, really strong part of this movie. Even if we only got a few moments on screen with him, you remembered him. And one last thing, and I told you I could talk about this one for a time now, but the idea of being locked in that fortified house with Michael Myers was just awesome and scary and the last place you wanted to be. It made Jamie and Rachel trying to escape the roof of that big old building that much more harrowing. And it was funny to watch Michael's uncoordinated ass try to follow them on that roof, but it was an awesome set piece. And originally, from what I've read in Taking Shape, which we'll talk about, the original plan for this movie to end, as it relates to Michael, is the house was going to burn down. And, you know, based on the ending we got with Michael, the ending with Jamie was tremendous. But the ending with Michael, I might have preferred a little bonfire with that house. But they couldn't afford it, so they didn't do it. And, you know, the rest is history. What killed this movie? Not a lot, but the mask was dreadful. I mean, they gave themselves a little bit of an out by allowing us to see him swipe it from the Vincent's drugstore. But even still, he could have picked any mask on that rack, and it probably would have been better than the one that we wound up with. And on top of all of that, gang, he was dressed like a fucking linebacker for Halloween. I mean, what is with shoulder pads? Now, listen, if he looks like he does in the original, or even Curse of Michael Myers, this movie right here is in the top 2 of this franchise all day, every day, yearly. The film, for me, that damn good. Yeah, this movie's an 8.5 out of 10. It's a certified banger. I would love this movie forever, even with the warts that it has on it. I mean, there's a scene in the school where all of a sudden Michael's mask changed and he's like goes albino or something. I thought that was really weird, and I think the skin on it was pink. They had a couple of hiccups here, but all in all, awesome final girls plural, giving us Jamie and Rachel. I just loved what they did with it. They reintroduced Michael to an audience, and they gave us a hell of a movie, a hell of an ending, and the follow-up left a little bit to be desired. But we're not talking about 5, we're talking about 4. And in this world, in this YouTube channel, Halloween 4 is revered, and it comes in at number 3 on our countdown. We love it. End of story. And my God, Dr. Loomis's performance at the very end of that movie when he looks up those stairs and he sees Jamie. Haunting stuff. This is Agent Gracefully. I'm Matthew Essex. Thanks for hanging in this time. Number 3 on the countdown is a wrap. Number 2 is coming up. I appreciate you guys tremendously. Think about subscribing and hang out with us and stick around. And we'll see you on the other side.